It's the monthly curse. It's your dreaded Aunt Flo coming to visit. Often, it's a state of mind relating to a horrible person with a high tolerance for chocolate. It's menstruation.
Explain it.
It happens every month, and it's rarely talked about. And what's less talked about are the products that we're putting in our bodies to keep up with it. Products like this. That's right, the tampon. Before we begin, a brief word on the menstrual cycle with Hannah. This is a uterus. During the menstrual cycle, the hormone estrogen causes the uterus lining to thicken in preparation for pregnancy. At the same time, an egg in one of the ovaries is maturing, and its plan is to leave the ovary 14 days later. That's called ovulation. 2 weeks later, when the egg shows up ready to become a baby, the body says, and hormone levels drop and release the even thicker uterine lining. And that's a period. So what do we know about tampons?
Rayon is it's an interesting product because it's originally developed from cellulose, which is like wood, or you can also make it from things like bamboo. So it's not really artificial, and it's not really natural. It sort of occupies someplace, a niche in between. Anything that's manufactured actually contains a dioxin residual from the manufacturing process, especially if there's anything to do with combustion or heat during the manufacturing process. The levels of dioxin in current feminine hygiene products are very, very low, like less than 1 part per trillion is what they're going with now. As far as carcinogenesis goes, or cancer-causing agents goes, dioxin is considered to be more of a promoter, which means it probably enhances the effect of other cancer-causing agents and doesn't necessarily directly cause cancer unto itself.
According to the EPA, there is no safe level of dioxin exposure. But with such a small amount found in tampons, can it really affect us?
One thing to factor into consideration, just theoretically, this is total theoretically, but dioxins and those type of compounds are very lipophilic, which means they tend to hang around in the body for a long period of time. So, and they tend to bioaccumulate. So dioxin in PCBs and fish, for instance, and going up the food chain and the whole 9 yards. That's when you have to question, well, is there a chance that being exposed to this little amount, we'll just say on a daily basis for 7 days, over 20 years, a 20-year period, times, would there be a chance that this would accumulate within my body? And I can't think of a single study that's addressed that issue.
Do you feel like this when you're on your period? I know that I don't, but tampon companies seem to portray their products as a one-way ticket to bliss for the menstrual cycle.
Tampon ads, like on TV and stuff, are usually really non-inclusive to certain identities, and also the way they represent women in them.
Being a woman is one of the things I like best about myself. I think you'll like it too.
Like how they're dressed or how they're acting or how they're responding to the situations that they're in are really hyper feminine. Some of the different names for the tampons seem to eliminate that association with the cycle as something that is a good thing, kind of something that people want to distance themselves from that process. On top of that, I think that a lot of times it's like focused on the menstruator's dread of having to deal with their cycle, and it's really like disempowering to the cycle in itself. When I first started my period, I was actually really terrified of it. I remember telling my mom, well, I don't know, maybe it's not that, like maybe it's just, I don't really know what's happening, and I was really like terrified because I felt like the way that it is perceived as something that's like kind of gross. And I was pretty young when it happened. I was in middle school, so I was just really, I didn't want that to be a part of my life yet, and I was also really scared to use certain products. I think that for me, that process came with a lot of embarrassment because of the messages that I was getting not only from the media and kind of the disassociation with the cycle in the way that like there's like the blue liquid, or like that it's not really a good thing, something that women want to avoid.
Somewhere down the line, reusable alternatives to tampons and pads were forgotten about.
Well, for me as a Diva Cup user, I have never learned so much or been more aware of my cycle and my body and what's going on during that time as when I have used a Diva Cup. So I think that that's really cool that it puts me more in tune with my body and what it's telling me. So this is a Diva Cup, and it is a silicone cup that is flexible, and it holds about an ounce of liquid. To insert it, you will just pinch the middle of it and kind of fold it over and insert it into your vagina, and then it will naturally just kind of expand and then suction to the walls of your vagina, and so that way it doesn't leak. You can leave it in for, gosh, I don't know, I've left mine in for like probably 12 hours before, and it's like really rare that it would overflow or anything like that, so it's really easy to use in that way. And when you want to dump it, you just pull it out and dump the blood in a toilet and then wash it out with just like plain soap and then reinsert it. And then usually after every cycle, you should boil it. This is a sea sponge, and to use it, you insert it into your vagina, and once it is full, you take it out and just squeeze out the blood, and you can use the sponge for maybe 2 or 3 cycles, so in between cycles you would want to boil it to sanitize it. You can also make your own pads using fabric, just scrap fabric, and you can find, I know there's tutorials and patterns online, and with these they're really convenient because you can just wash them in a washing machine and then reuse them. And also, I think, I don't know, just seeing the evolution of tampons especially and how teeny tiny they have become, and it's really popular to market really small tampons, and it's almost like it needs to be really discreet because you need to hide your period and you shouldn't talk about it and it's embarrassing, so just make it as non-present or like not a big deal as possible. But I think that is just kind of wrong because it's a natural thing that we should be able to talk about and be in touch with. So I think the natural methods are just really cool because they kind of combat that message that a lot of the commercials give us.
No one can tell you what method is best for your body, and no one should tell you what's best for your body. But it's important to know that there are alternatives and to be educated on the facts. Think for yourself.